Hey guys, what? We're back. After a very, very long time, we are back, and the regular content is about to start coming hot and heavy. Hot and heavy because it's today, it's tomorrow, it's Sunday, it's going to be Monday. We're going to have all the streams all the time. I might just stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Anyways, today, to talk about Manchester United's upcoming season, I have two phenomenal guests, two of my best friends that are not inside of the United States. First and foremost, you guys know him. You guys know his posters. His name is Matthew McFadden, and he's about to come to Arizona. Matthew, how you doing?
You know, I'm sensational. It's only 5 days away. I literally cannot wait for it. It's going to be like the best 10 days ever.
Yeah,
glad that the streams are back on now.
Yeah, finally. It feels like it's been forever and a half. But I'm also joined today by the one, the only, the guys that just he just makes me do things that I don't always know how to do it, but it brings it out of me, man. He just brings it out of me. Paul Gardner, how you doing?
I am splendid, sir. Absolutely splendid. Do you know what? All that was missing from that was entrance music.
I'm working on it. I've got guitars over here. I mean, we'll see if we can maybe come up with a theme song. Maybe we'll figure it out. Guys, do you think we can make up a theme song in a short amount of time? I'm sure we can do it. We can make it happen. But, I mean, thank you to everybody that's already in the chat. I mean, Chris, Myron, Max, J Hart, Dan, good to see you guys. I'm really happy to be back. Really, really happy to be back. You will notice that normally we would have Paul Gardner and Matthew available via video. Well, YouTube decided that they no longer wanted to have Google Hangouts and be involved in what they're doing. So I'm working on what system will work best to be able to make sure you guys aren't just going to have to see my ugly mug all the time. So, but I mean, but you guys are so much more better than me. I mean, I was saying you guys are just so much better than me. Come on now. But Mr. Andy, good to see you as well. But guys, let's go ahead and let's jump into this. First thing we're going to talk about is the transfer window that just happened. It wasn't everything we wanted it to be, that's for sure. But we did get two defensive players that needed to be brought in. I'm sorry. Didn't mean for that. Two defensive players that needed to be brought in, and a guy in Dan James that I am excited to see how he grows with his team. So, Paul, I'm going to come to you first. How do you feel about our transfer window? And number one, do you think more should have been done? And number two, are you still happy despite the fact that more could have been done?
Yes, more should have been done. Absolutely. I think coming into the transfer window, I never expected that we would address every problem area. You just have to look over the last few years, last couple of transfer windows, to know that we weren't going to come into this one, even after Ollie said that there was going to be some ruthlessness in the market, players going, plenty of players, despite lack of Champions League wanting to come to us. Deep down in my head, I did not expect that we would, address every position that we needed to. But I also didn't expect us to do as little as we did. Very disappointing. I'll be very honest with you. As you've just quite rightly pointed out, we did address two very key areas in centre-back and right-back, and I think we've made two stellar signings. So credit has to be given there.
Yes.
But you look at it, and so the Glazers have forked out, you could say, 80 million on Harry Maguire, and they've quickly recouped that in the sale of Romelu Lukaku.
Sorry, I had to laugh about that because it's so true.
It is, isn't it? It's like, yeah, we're going to fork out 80 million. We're going to spend some money. A week later, let's get that back. Let's get that back. Come on. I didn't like seeing that go.
Nope.
I want it back.
Nope, we need that back in the pockets.
Yeah. And then we spent, some money on Daniel James. which you could argue the fact that, you know, some of that money came from the sale of Marouane Fellaini. So really the only money we've spent is the money spent on Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yep.
So you look at a net spend of 70 million. When you think of the revenue that the club generates on its own without any input from the Glazers, we should be outspending every single one of our rivals in the Premier League. We should be up there outspending everybody with our own money. We should be addressing the issues we've got within the squad.
Yeah.
Fans put money into the club to get something back from it. At the moment, we're not, and that was evident in this transfer market just gone, and evident that the Glazers are just there to, as we all know, to just milk the club. And that's the sad thing, really. We should have done more business. We're being outspent by Villa and Wolves. It's a shambles. And the fact that midfield, it's like we go from one season to the next with a problem area. So at one point it was up front, you know, the striker's position, we had no one, so we brought Lukaku in. Then all of a sudden that was sorted. Now our defence is a problem. It's just one thing after another. We just can't seem to address everything in one go. And it's just, we can do it. The money's there, but it's just not being spent. And that's the annoying thing about it.
Yeah, and Paul, that's an understatement, because we all see the revenue that Manchester United brings in, and it's so frustrating for us as fans to know what the club is being brought, like what's being brought into the club, knowing we could do more, and yet nothing is being done to do more. Like you said, to know that there's problem areas, and you know, I don't want necessarily everything to just be quick fixes. I mean, like the thing that I did notice about this transfer window, and it's been pointed out by many, is that everybody that we bought was young, can grow with the team, and we'll see improvements from them all the time. Like that's one of the best things about the purchases we've made. We didn't go out and go try and buy like a Toni Kroos that would come in and is kind of towards the end of his prime, and you know, all of a sudden, you know, yeah, we might have a midfielder, but is it really going to help us in the long term? I mean, I'm at least happy to see we had a vision in this transfer window, whereas in past transfer windows, especially during Mourinho's tenure, we didn't know truly what his thoughts and ideas were behind what we were trying to do. Real quick, did want to say what's up to Mr. Drawdy Devil. Happy to see you in here, man, and thank you for having me on United Stand with you a couple times in the last couple of weeks. It was a great time. Mr. Exclusive, it's great to see you as well. It's happy to have my mods back. That's what's awesome. And then of course Justin Vibber, he'll be joining me for a Phoenix Rising preview here soon. Great to see you in here, man. So Justin did ask, so he said, doesn't United have a ton of debt? What do the Glazers have to gain from that? So the Glazers did buy the club on debt. So they have not done anything to try and pay that off. And ultimately, I don't think that they ever will. I saw somebody ask, you know, with what they did with not buying more people like they should have, you know, is it because they're going to pay off more debt? No, they're not going to pay off debt. They're going to wait to sell the club for, you know, $3 billion, $4 billion, and they won't ever have to worry about that debt ever. So, yeah. Then Go Master Andy. He said, my only problem with Maguire-Lindelof partnership is a possible lack of pace. You could say we have Tuanzebe for games where pace is an issue, though. And Andy, that is a great point. That is a fantastic point right there. Oh, shoot, that United family's in here, too. Love to see you guys, too. But I'm going to be interested to see if Lindelof and Maguire are the guys that are going to be the consistent center back partnership. You would make the assumption that would be the case, and barring injury, that would most likely be the case as well. But Matthew, I'm going to pose the same question to you, but I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on it. You know, so obviously the signings came in. I mean, so number one, how did you feel about the transfer window? Could more have been done? And ultimately, you know, do you think that it was right to not go out there and go get, you know, extra people if it means that we're going to be playing the kids more?
I probably agree with Paul on absolutely everything. Like, we are the biggest ATM machine in the world. Like, let's face it, the Glazers just use us like that. And you know, like the signings that we actually made were good signings, especially Maguire and AWD.
Yeah.
But we were probably one really solid midfielder away from thinking, you know what, it's not been a perfect transfer window, but it's been a good one. But now it's just like, oh, is that really it? It's a bit disappointing here. It's kind of similar to Josie's last season where there was only 3 signings made, and it's sort of like 1 or 2 could be decent players, but at the end of the day, we needed way more. But you know, to put a positive spin on it, at least the defence is hopefully fixed. I mean, we've now got a starting back 5 with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Lindelof and Luke Shaw, which Luke Shaw is average, and I don't really think Lindelof is all that just yet, but it's still a really, really solid back four, and the back four that we should be at. And when you look at that midfield, and you know, apart from Paul Pogba, who really in that midfield is actually going to create something?
Yeah.
It's very much a case of these players might have a chance of creating something or potentially could do something, but we've not really seen it from them. I mean, McTominay's been good in pre-season, but let's face it, it's pre-season. It's not an exact replica of how the season's going to be. And when you look at attack as well, it's just been a bit like we've got a lot of attackers, but we don't have a lot of, you know, star players in those front 3 positions. We've got players who can turn it on and can be amazing players, but at the same time, they've not really shown consistency. And that's, you know, an argument that could be made for absolutely everyone who's a first team player in a front position. So, yeah, transfer window, look, Rome wasn't built in a day, but we needed to make 1 or 2 more signings there. So it's kind of disappointing, but at least I'm happy that we've got Slabhead.
Yeah.
Because, my God,
that is your spirit animal after all.
I think what confuses me is that it's become evident, excuse me, that what Glazers, the only thing that Glazers are interested in is getting in the top 4, that Champions League money, and obviously the Adidas sponsorship money that supposedly comes with that. Yet, when you look at the squad we've got at the moment, it makes you wonder, why did they not release funds to go and get the midfielder that we need? You know, because at the moment, you look at the teams around us, Spurs, Arsenal, they've just completely rinsed us in the transfer market, and they've made some decent signings addressing key areas. And but you've got where I was going with that now.
I think we talked about that in the podcast at the end of last season. We're sort of thinking, right, surely we must have a busy transfer window.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you know, when we're in a Europa League club base, they usually go out and spend big money on big players. And the fact as well is our manager's Ole, like he's not that experienced, he needs the backing. And especially considering he's a club legend already. So if, you know, things start going wrong, we're not going to immediately blame Ole. Our fingers are going to be pointed at the board. So it's a bit confusing as to why we didn't really spend a great deal in comparison to the rest of the top 4.
And that ultimately is what I'm going to encourage anybody that watches my channel to do, is we knew that more needed to be done. We knew more needed to be done, and yet Woodward and the Glazers did not make that happen. Do not turn on Ole for the failures of the board unless Ole literally is showing that he knows nothing. Like if it's down to the fact that the players can't play, that's not on Ole. Ole said that he wanted to. Ole wanted a midfielder. You can't just lose Ander Herrera and say, "Oh, we don't need the midfielder." That's just not how it works. So, I just do not turn on Ole just to turn on Ole. Like, look at what the real problem is, and the real problem is the Glazers and Ed Woodward, who have been running this club since long before Ole got here. It's on them for the problems that are currently going on. Let's see here. So,
I hear a lot of people saying that actually. Don't turn on Ole, whatever happens. And I disagree with that. I really do, because he has a squad and they have abilities, and he needs to get the best out of them. You know, I'm not saying that he should definitely be getting us into the top 4. We should definitely be fighting for the title. But with that squad that we've got, we should be fighting for top 4, even with that squad. With that extra midfielder, with that extra signing, we probably would have had a much better chance in getting top 4.
Yeah.
But as it stands at the moment, it's going to be a scrap. So the way I look at it is, if by Christmas we're hovering around 10th or even lower, and the players just don't look like they're interested, I'm sorry, but that has to fall on Ollie. And yes, Jordy, this is me, Paul.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, yes, Jordy, that it is Paul here. And so, Paul, I do definitely get where you are coming from. And I think we even talked about it on Talking Manchester United. But what my goal is for this season is I want to see an improved style of play. If it winds up that improved style of play leads us to top 4, then I'm happy with that. But at the end of the day, what I want to see is more effort and more fight from everybody in the team. And I think that will make a lot of people happy to see us going out there and looking like the players give a damn. Because there was definitely times last year, both under Mourinho's tenure and under Ollie's tenure, where it looked like players just didn't give a damn about running their hearts out. So as long as it looks like players are caring and they're putting in effort and we're seeing a change in the style of play, I think that will be enough for a lot of people. Paul, where's Johnny's window cleaner?
He's coming. He's coming.
Let's see here. Pancast, good to see you as well. Just trying to see if there's anything. So, and guys, also, just if you have any questions, be sure to get them in. We would love to answer questions you guys have got. We always want to interact with you guys on here because, I believe that getting everybody's opinion heard is something that is important. It's also the reason why I love the United Stand so much is because of that, because the United Stand does give all fans a voice. And I want to just carry on with that, but with all sports. But anyways, guys, let's move on from the transfer window because obviously there's nothing that can be done about it now. We have what we have, and we can't go any farther than that. So, being realistic with yourselves, and Matthew, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Where do you expect to see us finish in the league, and what are your expectations for the season as a whole?
I think that all depends on what Ole prefers. If he prefers the older players like Nemanja Matic, actually young, then we're not going to have a good season. But if he actually gives games to the young players like Greenwood, James, Chong, etc., and hopefully they can actually, because it seems like they want to play, unlike certain people in the squad. So it kind of depends on his selection, and it depends as well on how we do in other competitions. Because I don't want the same thing to happen again as Jones' first season, I think it was, where he prioritised Europa League. Like, yeah, sure, we won it, and it was good for him to win it. But I don't want to be in that situation again, where we have to say, right, forget top 4. We're going to have to try and go in this way. So for me, I think you have to prioritise your league. Give games to, some of the young players and some of the, fringe players in those cup competitions. But I think in the league, you've got to start, that has to be your main priority throughout the whole season. So in terms of league possession, I think it's hard to really put a finger on exactly how we'll do, because we've seen it sometimes like 2015, 2016 when Leicester, tons of the big teams just perform for some reason. But I think if we're going pure, I'd probably say 5th at the moment, either 5th or 6th. I think Arsenal, they strengthened massively in the summer. I think we're all sort of laughing at them for not really strengthening the defence. And I was sort of saying, Solskjaer's sending a bunch of attackers and midfielders, but you're going to lose every game 5-4. But, sending David Luiz, who, to be fair, isn't the greatest of defenders, but for 8 million is a really good deal, plus one of the best left-backs in Europe, or young left-backs in Europe, in Kane and Tierney. They actually look like a good team now. Not just a good attack, but a good squad. So they're a bit more threatening now. I think they'll probably finish top 4, which probably means us and Chelsea will be 5th and 6th. As much as I hate to admit it, I think that's probably where we're going to end up.
And I certainly hope you're wrong. And I will say this: I'm not trying to talk crap about him, because I think that David Luiz, the person, is a pretty decent guy. But the David Luiz signing, I mean, he couldn't even get into Chelsea's starting lineup last season. I mean, I'm not impressed by that signing at all.
Yeah, he's not the greatest player in the world, but I think for 8 million, it's a It's a sort of relatively risk-free signing.
No, and that's
And let's face it, he's better than Mustafi.
that is exactly it. He's better than what they've got, but it's not like it's really saying much.
It's not like us saying Harry Maguire.
Yeah,
Someone who's better than everyone else.
exactly. And then, but the Kieran Tierney signing was an excellent last day signing. I mean, you can't deny that.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, Paul, same question to you. I mean, how do you feel like we're going to finish in the league? And then ultimately, like, where do you see us kind of going throughout the season? I mean, do you think you're going to see us continue this trend of what we've been doing in the preseason? Or, are we going to see, a bit of a mix up throughout the year?
So I think we will continue how we were playing in preseason. How long that will go on for is another question. I think when you think of, where do we expect to be at the end of the season, I think you need to think of three things that come off the top of my head. Matthew touched on one of those things, and that's player selection. Will there be favouritism? Will Matic start game in, game out over Scott McTominay? Will Ashley Young feature more than he should? Will the centre-back partnership keep getting disturbed? Lindelof and Maguire coming out and Jones or Smalling coming in. I don't think most of that will happen. I do think that Ollie knows at the moment after that preseason. I think Ollie's got a good idea of what his best 11 is going to be, and that doesn't include Ashley Young, either of the Chuckle brothers, or Nemanja Matic. I think that was evidently clear over the preseason. So in terms of player selection, I think that'll be fine. I think he'll get it right. For the most part, all managers make mistakes. But then there's the two more important things. One of them being the fitness.
Yeah.
We know that they spent the preseason working on that, and the word coming out of the club is that it's been positive and that they're looking fit and they're looking well. But that doesn't happen in one preseason. So in my head, I'm thinking, are we going to get to sort of Christmas and the players are going to start burning out a little bit? Or, March, April, when it comes to the crunch time of the season where you could be drifting around fourth by like 3 or 4 points and, fitness is important. Will they be able to maintain that all the way through the season? Because we've seen what happened last season when that fitness was gone and they just couldn't play. So that is something we need to consider as well. And also another thing that concerns me is Ollie's player management. So again, when you think back to last season when players were underperforming, it wasn't just the fitness. They literally forgot how to play football. Their heads were down. They were just very, very poor. And he could not bring them out of that. It started all very well, and then it just turned and it went a downward spiral. He couldn't bring them back out of it. And that's one thing that worries me. If we have 1 or 2 games where we drop points to teams that maybe we shouldn't, will heads drop the game? Will he be able to bring them back out of that? He couldn't do it last season. What is there to suggest that he can do it this season? Now, you could argue some new heads in the youth because they'll be wanting to impress. So they could be the ones that show up the other guys and encourage them to pick up. So there is that. So when you factor in all those things, I think that we'll be in a struggle to make top 4. Because you look at the Chelsea team, for example, they've all been playing together for a long time. There's not been any disruption really in their squad over the preseason, over the transfer window. So they're all going to be, they're all going to understand each other on the pitch. Spurs obviously have a very strong squad, all played with each other for a very long time. A few additions coming in, not too many. So I just think that it could be a very big struggle for us to make top 4. So I'm going to be, you could argue pessimistic. I'm going to say realistic, and I'm going to say probably around 5th or 6th. I do think we'll miss out on top 4, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't really blame you for that thought either. I mean, it's going to be a tough season. You can't deny that it's going to be a tough season. The fact that, like, and like you mentioned earlier, Paul, when you said that, a midfielder would have made it so that fight for top 4 would have gotten a hell of a lot easier, but we didn't get that. And so it's now going to make that fight for top 4 reliant on people like Andres Pereira and Fred finally stepping up and doing what they're here to do. And that's to be good footballers and play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's going to be reliant on a lot of those things, and the man management, like you mentioned, is going to be crucial to that. It's going to be absolutely crucial to that. So we do have a couple of questions real quick, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get through them. So first one's going to be for me. So how is Olivia now? So George, she's much, much better. I don't know if you guys heard her crying not that long ago, but you guys will get to see her. She's in her Manchester United onesie. She's happy and ready for the season. She's not happy with Ed Woodward. That's what it is. Anytime I mention his name, she manages to poop. I don't get it. But the question, so Girardi asked us, and I'll come to you first, Paul, on this. Will Martial being number 9 be a boost to him?
My first thought on that is it shouldn't. It's just a shirt number. But we know how that was taken away from him a few years back. And then he went on that downward spiral in performance level. And I remember thinking at the time it's absolutely ridiculous if that's the reason that he's sort of dropped in his performance levels, that his shirt number. I mean, that's pathetic. But to answer George's question, I think for Martial, I think getting that number 9 back will give him a little boost. Because when this is his club, this is Man United, his employers. Their reward it's almost like a reward, you could call it, rewarding him. Here you go. Here's your number 9. This is what you wanted. This is what was yours originally. Have it back. Of course, that's going to be a little boost to him. And I hope it is. And I hope it works. And I hope it sparks something from him.
And Paul, I completely agree. I think that ultimately, if he did let his head drop to the extent we all believe it might have, I think it's kind of pathetic. But I also kind of get it, because he did have a pretty decent season in his first season. And then to have it kind of ripped away like that seems a little weird. But Matthew, same question to you. Do you think him getting the 9 back is going to add a little bit to him?
Yeah, I think it will give him a little bit of a confidence boost. But like Paul said, I mean, if a change of the number is enough to really make you unsure about your future about Man United, I'm sorry, but just man up. Like, that shouldn't be such a big difference maker. That you have to be, so down for the next season. Like,
I'm just going to jump in quickly. Sorry, when that happened as well, when he had his shirt number 9 taken away from him, there was a lot of talk that he was upset because of his AM9 brand.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, hang on a minute, you've been at United for a year.
Yeah,
you're only 21, and you've got your own brand. What's that about? Sorry, Matthew, carry on.
yeah. I was going to direct a reference to that there. Yeah. Like the way that it was, taken just when he set up his own brand and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. You're still playing for Man United. The shirt number shouldn't really matter. Like, obviously, if you got, one of those legendary shirt numbers, and it's like, right, this actually means a lot. But come on, a simple shirt number change shouldn't really mean anything. But hopefully we can actually see what he's like in that number 9 shirt, like we did in the first season, and hopefully he has a similar kind of season. But for me, I think what's more important is if he actually plays as a number 9 or out wide, because we see that sometimes Rashford has had some good games up front, some good games in the left wing, but poor games in both those seasons. So I think it depends on where he's going to play. It's going to dictate exactly how good a season he is. But then there's that debate of where is his best position, because he's not really a left winger, but he's not really a sole striker, or at least we haven't quite seen it from him. So I think I'm going into this season pretty mixed when it comes to Martial. I think it's good that he's got his number 9 back. Everyone seems to be absolutely loving it, but at the same time, it's like a shirt number shouldn't mean that much to a player.
We just all remember that.
Andrew, I just want to say something quickly. George Kyle's laughing at me, saying there is no AM9 brand. Do you know what? I did wonder why I heard nothing of it since he lost that number, but I swear that there was something to do with the AM9 brand.
Because he just released his own website, and I think there's going to be, maybe some kind of clothing line or whatever, because I imagine that's what he did. Yeah, he released that, and literally 2 weeks later or something like that, I'm sure his number got changed. So you can understand how annoyed he was at it, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, so George, don't laugh or I'll come down there.
Like,
they make me come down there.
I mean, it's going to be pretty easy. You know, you just got to come down to the comments. It's not that far. But so for me, I look at the fact that he's getting that number 9 back. We know how great he did in his first season with that number 9. If that's going to give him that little boost of confidence, that a little bit of extra, then hell yeah. Like let the Martial that was blowing past people and juking people and doing all sorts of tricky kind of stuff. I mean, as you guys would call it over in the UK, the techers, as you would say. But just if it's going to give him that confidence, I'm happy that he's got it back, because every player needs a little bit of something, you know, no matter what it is. But every player needs a little bit of confidence, and everybody gets it differently. But I'm just happy that he might be able to go back to the way that he was. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. So I will go for one more question here. So Leo Colley asked us, do you think Dan James will play? Now, Leo, if you're asking kind of as a general question, I would say he's going to get minutes, but I don't know if you're asking if he's going to start or not. But, I mean, Paul, you kind of answered it, but, I mean, do you want to go ahead and elaborate on that?
What was the question? Sorry, I was reading the comments then.
No, it's okay. So he's Leo Colley asked, do you think Dan James will play?
I do. I think he will play probably a lot more than what people think, because he can play all across the front. He can play on the right and the left, and the right-hand side is where we're quite weak, and we need Greenwood's not going to play every game on that right-hand side. So I think we'll probably see a lot of Daniel James and Greenwood interchanging. I think we'll see Daniel James make a lot of substitute appearances, sort of last 10, 15, 20 minutes of games. I don't think he'll start many, maybe in the earlier rounds of the Cup if we face weaker opposition. But yeah, I do think we'll see quite a lot of James. I don't think he's just been brought to be sent to train with the young ones. I think he will be in and around the first team, and he will get minutes. He's not going to develop if he doesn't get minutes. They won't send him out on loan.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Matthew, I mean, I'm going to ask you the same question. How do you feel about Dan James? Are you going to see him much this year?
Yeah, I'd agree with Colin pretty much everything, that we'll see him quite a lot. Seems to be playing a load of games in the preseason, and he's impressed, but at the same time he does need work. I think he's at this stage, well, his final ball or his shooting needs some work. I reckon he's probably best as that kind of super sub, because let's face it, this guy's absolutely rapid. And if you're a defence, no matter how good your defence is, and it's like 70 minutes in and you're starting to get tired, and then you see, the flash over here ready to come on, you're going to be shitting yourself. So yeah, I think he's going to get games, but I think he'll probably just be a squad player this season.
I think that he will, and we've talked about this before. I've said it on social media. You guys have seen my thoughts on Dan James, but I really think that he is going to be the definition of a super sub. He's going to be the guy that when he comes on that last 15, 20 minutes, when everybody's tired and you've got one of the fastest players in the world out there, it adds a little bit of something. We all see how Adam Traore does for Wolves whenever he comes on. That kind of pace, it adds something to a team. And I'm going to be excited to see how he develops over the year, and hopefully he does get starts in cup games and stuff like that. I think that he should be able to, get some cup games here and there. But let's go ahead. And there was one thing I did want to talk about, and it kind of goes into the question that I think it was Doug that asked it. But he asked, do you see Mason Greenwood starting? Let's kind of go into what do you guys think is going to be our 11 for at least the start of the season? Because normally for the first 5 to 10 games, you don't see a lot of mix-up in the starting 11, barring injuries and stuff like that, or very, very, very poor form. So, I mean, we can do this all together. We can just kind of go position by position. I mean, obviously, Lee Grant is the starting goalkeeper. There's no question about that. Greatest football player that ever lived. So we can't really get into that one any further. But no, seriously.
There's no laughing here because it's truth.
Yeah.
We speak truth.
No, we only deal in facts in 2019. We've talked about this all the time. All the time.
I had to laugh.
Are you reading off script? So, Jay Hart, I've got the Liverpool and Norwich game on over here just because I'm curious about what's going to happen. But obviously, they're up 4-1 right now. So, sorry.
If you're in Doug's Super League, then I'll tell you what, you're going to be losing to me already. Because that's my prediction. So, get up, you.
Get off. Get off. So, I mean, real talk, guys. David De Gea, I mean, that was pretty much obvious. And actually, just real quick answer, yes or no. Do you guys think that David De Gea signs a new contract before the end of the season, Paul?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. I will still be interested to see if we ever do sell him, but I think that he signs a new contract. I'm not worried about that.
After the tweet he put out, or was it an Instagram post? I can't remember. But he posted something, wasn't it? A picture of him in the various different United kits.
Yes.
If he wasn't planning on signing a new contract, I don't think he would have posted that. I think it's already signed.
I'm going to guess it's probably already signed, and they're waiting until next week to announce it. So let's go ahead and get into the back four. I think the back four pretty much does itself. Right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Do you guys agree?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So center back pairing.
What formation are we doing?
I was gonna kind of talk about that. I was yeah. So Matthew, if you want to take care of that for me. So to center back pairing, I'm gonna say. Oh, you don't see it?
Oh no, it must be a lot back in free.
Sorry. I'm sorry for anybody that had to read that. I apologize. But you gotta love trolls. Anyways, center back pairing, Lindelof. What's that, Matthew?
That's a nice name.
Yeah.
At least he's to the point.
I mean, very true. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, I can only hope. So center back pairing, Maguire and Lindelof. I mean, do you guys agree?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay, and then left side, Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, just making sure, Matthew. I was like, are you going to go with Ashley Young starting on the left? So this is where that it gets interesting. I'm kind of predicting we're going to play a 4-2-3-1, but I could also see us playing a 4-3-3 as well. I know we spent majority of the preseason playing the 4-2-3-1, but I mean, do you guys want to go forward with the 4-2-3-1?
I think we should, because I think that's the formation we're going to go with.
Okay. So Paul, I'm going to ask you first. I mean, there's quite a lot of options, but we all know Paul Pogba is going to be one. Who do you think is going to be that other person?
Well, I would like to think, based on pre-season, and we have to admit, a good handful of performances last season, Scott McTominay, because during the pre-season, he performed. Because if you remember, towards the end of last season, no one knew what his position was going to be. Is he a defensive midfielder? Is he a box-to-box? Is he an attacking midfielder? We just didn't know. But I think, I can't remember what game it was now. I think it might have been in Spurs. I'm not sure what it was. But I think it was literally just after he'd actually come out and said, box-to-box. I didn't know he said that. And I was watching that game, and I've seen him spraying balls around. I've seen him getting forward, having decent shots on target, playing little balls through, running back, doing defensive duties, making tackles on the edge of the box. And I thought, well, he's box to box quite clearly. He can go both ways. And then obviously after that game, I was looking through Twitter and someone's said, oh, he said he's a box to box midfielder. I thought, oh, right, okay, well, there's the answer then. So I'd like to see him alongside Pogba.
I mean, Matthew, same question to you. Do you agree with Paul, or do you think it maybe should be one of, either Fred or, I mean, I would hope, I already know the answer to this one, but Matic or somebody like that?
I wanted to be with Tomley. I never thought I'd say that. But I've just got a funny feeling he's going to select Matic again, especially up against his old club.
Well, I never thought I'd say that either, to be honest. Last season, I was unsure of him.
You just didn't know what he was last season. You're thinking, what does he actually offer? Like, he's not really that fast, not great in the ball. not a particularly good ball winner. He just doesn't really offer much, but he seems to be a bit of everything now, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm excited to see what Scott McTominay is going to do in this season. We've kind of, even on this channel, we've kind of slated him a little bit. I always have my questions about him, and I still have my questions about him because ultimately, like we've said, the preseason means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. But for me, as long as it's not Matic, I think I'm going to be happy. So, do you guys want to say for the first few games, the pairing is going to be Paul Pogba and Scott McTominay in that too?
Definitely.
I've got a horrible sinking feeling that Matic will be picked. I really hope it's not. I really would prefer to see Scott McTominay there, but I don't know why. It's got this horrible feeling that Ollie's going to go with Nemanja Matic purely because of his size and his experience, and the fact that he used to play for Chelsea might swing in his favour as well. But I do hope it's McTominay. But I got a feeling it's going to be Matic.
And I hope you're wrong, especially after the preseason that Scott had. I really do hope you're wrong, even more so. But I could see where that fear comes in, Paul. And I do ultimately think we will see Scott. I do think so. But I still got my doubts because
you just got to look at last season. He kept playing Ashley Young. Do you know what I mean? And players like that who were consistently poor, he just kept picking them. That's what instills the fear in me that he's going to go with Matic. I know he's not going to go with them this season. You don't spend 50 million on a right back and then stick Ashley Young in there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And George, you should actually just not have the Winch Hunting Club because apparently it doesn't work during the season. It only works in the off season. So you got to George, you got to start it up next off season, the Matic Witch Hunting Club. But I think that Ollie is smarter than that, and I think that with the way that they have been pushing Scott McTominay, especially for the fact that he's on the cover of PES for whatever reason.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Crazy.
All players you could have chose. It just seems so weird.
By the way, Matthew, just so you know, I do think that is the case. What you were thinking, but I'll text you after everything. But so here, anyways, guys, let's kind of carry on into the number 10, the other, quote unquote midfield position. That's where the real debate comes in because you've got a few players that can play there. You've got Andres Pereira, you've got Angel Gomez, you've got Juan Mata, and you've got Jesse Lingard, all of whom can play. And Ollie's press conference today, he did make it seem like Jesse Lingard was going to be instrumental to the pressing system that we're wanting to run. So, Paul, for the first few matches, who do you see starting at that number 10?
Well, from what I've seen in pre-season, not in abundance, I'll make that clear. But what I did see was some good football, some good link-up play from Juan Mata in that number 10 role, which is what he does best. It depends. I think it will depend on what formation you play. If we're going to play a 4-2-3-1, your number 10 has to be a number 10. You can't just put someone in there just because he's quick and can press. If we play a 4-3-3 system, which we will, I'm not saying we're going to play 4-2-3-1 all season.
Yeah.
I think we will mix it up a little bit depending on who we're playing against. But I think when we do play the 4-3-3, I can see Lingard, fitting into that system maybe. But I think if we're going to play a 4-2-3-1 with a number 10, you don't just put someone in there just because he can press. You've got to put a number 10 in the number 10 position. So for me, I would like to see Mata there. Just one example of how good Mata can be. Just think back to Gomez's goal against Spurs. That little touch from Mata. There's not any other player, other than maybe Gomez himself, who could have had the instincts and the technical ability to play that tidy little touch right into Gomez's feet on the byline with about 4 defenders around him.
Mm.
Not many people could have done that, but Mata has that in his locker. We just don't see it from him that often because he's always played out of position.
Yes.
He may well be slow and he may not be able to beat players, George, you're quite right there, but that's not always required from a number 10. The number 10 is that little link in the middle who can receive the ball at his feet, think quickly and spot a runner, because when you're in that number 10 position, players, as soon as you receive the ball, players are making runs already, so you shouldn't need to be running yourself. You should just receive that ball and knock it off quickly to a runner.
Yeah. No, you're not fully wrong there. But one thing I will say, Paul, is that Jesse, I mean, he does tend to play pretty well for England. I'll kind of give him that. Jesse almost always plays in the 10 for England. Almost always. So I think that Jesse can play there, but I still don't think that he's the best guy we have for that position. Like, I agree with what you said, and I think that Mata should be or likely will be the guy. But I do think that there is the possibility that we could see, Jesse Lingard also play there. But for the first few matches, I'm going to say that it's going to wind up being Juan Mata that's going to play at the 10, because I think that Jesse Lingard is ultimately going to wind up out on that right-hand side. And while I disagree with that, I don't think that should be the case, and I hope that's not the case. I hope that Jesse Lingard might play in the 10, and that we might get a special kid out on that right-hand side. I just have my doubts. That's all. I'm just going to say I have my doubts. But Matthew, I mean, same question to you. We've got a few players that can play there. Who do you think ultimately will wind up being at the 10?
I hope it's Gomez, because he's done absolutely amazing in the preseason. And yeah, Mata seems to be obviously much better at the number 10 position. But then you've got to look at off the ball. He doesn't really press that much. But then you've got Lingard, who is the polar opposite of Mata. And he will press for 90 minutes straight. He's got so much energy. But on the ball, he just does absolutely nothing. So sort of, what do you want in that team? And I suppose it depends on the qualities of the other players around you, what they're like on the ball and off the ball, whether you can make certain compromises. But I'd say it would probably have to be either Mata or Gomez. Realistically speaking, probably has to be Mata, just because of the fact that we might have Greenwood starting, therefore you might need a bit more experience in the field, especially with likes of McTominay and Rashford too. Yeah, he's experienced, but he's still very young. So I'd probably say Mata, but I have a funny feeling it's going to be Lingard because of how much all he's been talking about.
Yeah,
and Lingard's that sort of player who he'll forever live off that 6-week period where he turned into Messi Lingard. And people will think he's that same player. He's not. Players who are bang average can go on good runs.
Like, how he winds up with an 82 rating in FIFA all the time, I have no idea. I don't. I'm not even trying to be harsh on Jesse, but like you said, he's a foreign player. He lives off a few weeks, and that's it.
The thing is with Jesse is that he doesn't necessarily do much bad, but he doesn't do much in general.
Yep, he goes missing. He's missing Lingard.
Exactly, that's it. He's gone from Messi Lingard to missing Lingard.
Like George did just say, Lingard is great for Wembley and the Emirates, though. That is very true. You almost always have to play him at those two places. But I realize right now that I'm kind of the deciding vote here, because of how I think that, because I'm going with what Ollie is going to do, not what I would do. Because if it was what I would do, and I think everybody here would agree with me, I would play Angel Gomez at the 10. I mean, if it was up to me, that's who I would play there, because I think that he's the most talented of anybody that we've got for that position. But I think it will wind up being Juan Mata at the 10. He played there a lot during the preseason. It was at least nice to see. It was nice to see that he was getting played where he deserved to be played at and where he should have been playing at. But I think the reason why is because I do think that we ultimately wind up getting Jesse Lingard out on that right-hand side. What I hope is that Jesse Lingard starts at the 10, and then we get Mason Greenwood on the right. That's what I hope. But what I think will happen is we'll get Juan Mata at the 10, and then Jesse Lingard on the right. But we will ultimately see. It will be interesting to see how that lineup comes out, and especially because we didn't see Tahith Chong or Angel Gomez or Mason Greenwood play in the game in the U23s today. That was fascinating. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get to see all of them at least included in the match day squad and be in the quote unquote the first team.
See, when I read that, I thought, well, they wouldn't be, would they? Why would they be if they're now promoted to the first team and they're first team players? Why would they still be playing in the 23s?
Yeah, well, but
When Rashford was promoted, when McTominay was promoted, nobody was looking to see if they would be playing in under 23s. So I don't understand why everyone's worried about them playing in Gomez, Greenwood, and Chong playing in the under 23s. They've been promoted to the first team. They're first team players.
No,
I'm missing something. I don't know.
No, and Paul, I do certainly hope that you're right. I hope that they are included in that match day squad and they are regular first teamers, because I mean, people always forget the regular first teamer term actually does mean either being on the bench or in the 11. I hope that they are regular first teamers this season and are given their opportunities. I do think that ultimately it'll be interesting to see how the entire season winds up. And I do think we will see a lot of the kids and reserve squad inside of the Europa League games. I definitely think that. But Jay Hart, you're right. I mean, we have seen it many times, and it ends in disappointment. I hope I'm wrong. I certainly do hope I'm wrong. So Dan, they played the other earlier in the week. I think it was on Tuesday, right? I think it was a U18 game, or maybe it was a U23 game. I thought it was a U18 game that they played in earlier in the week, but they didn't play tonight. So that's what gives me some confidence that they might be involved in the first team. But anyways, guys, so
we briefly touched on that in the podcast, didn't we? Because you said yourself, Andrew, that it was just a case of maybe getting a bit of game time before the season started because they didn't get as much as some of the others did during preseason.
Yeah, no, and that's what my hope was that they were just getting some more minutes since, I mean, they were basically more bench options than anything coming off from the preseason. And I thought even coming off the bench that they were in the top 5, both Angel Gomez and Tahith Chong. Well, Mason Greenwood, I don't think that he did. He did wind up starting one match or 2 matches. I can't remember exactly, but preseason kind of flies by, guys. But I know that at the very least, all 3 of those guys were in the top 5 players of the preseason. And there's really no argument against that. But so let's go ahead, guys. Let's go to this front 3. Let's talk about the front 3. We wound up selling Romelu Lukaku, so we know Rom will not be involved in the squad at all. Who do you think winds up being the front 3? And Matthew, I'm going to come to you first. What is the front 3 for the first few games?
If I were the manager, I'd probably go with the front 3 of Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford, because they seem to be players that can play in any of those positions in the front 3. So, but then again, who do you actually start at each position? I'd imagine it's going to be Greenwood on the right. I think, the fact that he didn't play today, I think it is telling that he will be in the matchday squad. And I think it's either going to be him or James that starts in the right wing, which, either player starting seems to be good intentions from Ole. Up front, again, it could be either Martial or Rashford. Or, even Alexis Sanchez. I don't know what's the situation with him and his fitness, but I know he played to Copa America, but I don't know if he's back to being fully fit yet. He could see a few games, but for me, it's got to be those 3 players, Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood.
And if it were up to me, that's what I would say it is. But what do you think Ollie is going to do in the first few games?
You know what? I actually think it's going to be that.
Really? Okay. I mean, I hope so. Listen, I really do hope so.
I think he'll start Martial and Rashford. Definitely Rashford. How much he loves him.
Yes.
I think Martial. What sort of better options are out there in those 2 positions that he fills out? And then for the right wing, it could be Mata, it could be Lingard, because they can play there sometimes. But I think it's going to be either James or Greenwood. I think it depends on the situation. So I don't think what we want in a starting 11 is too far off what Ole's probably thinking.
And I really do hope you're right. By the way, Matthew, Liverpool did just win 4-1, so big lead. Big league. Sorry. So, Paul, same question to you. I mean, I'll even ask you, what would you do, and what do you think Ollie will do?
The same, and I would agree with Matthew McFadden. Don't know why I had to include your surname there, but I did.
Same, Paul.
I thought it was Matthew McForheadian. I'm sorry.
That's funny, isn't it?
Because I'm used to introducing you on the podcast, and I always use your full name. Yeah, I think it's going to be Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, and I think Ollie will do the same as well. So I just think that in terms of going forward and running at defenders, I think Greenwood is head and shoulders above Lingard at doing that. I mean, we see Lingard doing it now and again, but not often enough. So I do think that we'll see those three in the front line. And with Martial and Rashford, I think we'll see them alternating quite a lot. Well, I think we'll see the whole front three interchanging quite a lot. A very fluid front three. I think that's what Ollie wants, and I think it's good. It sort of gives the defence something to think about. And I think it will benefit both Rashford and Martial because they're both going to get chances to play down through the middle and maybe over the course of the season stake their claim to that spot.
And I hope so. I'm actually, I mean, I got outvoted here. I still think it'll be Lingard on the right. I've got that sneaking suspicion, just like you have with Matic playing in that midfield too, Paul. I've got this sneaking suspicion that we're going to see Mata and Lingard at least to start the season, and that we'll see Greenwood and Dan James be more super subs and coming off the bench. I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. I hope that we see I hope we see what we should be seeing in Mason Greenwood starting on that right-hand side. Mason Greenwood is the future of this club. I mean, he is. There's really no denying that. He's the future of this club, and if he continues to improve, I think that there's no reason why he won't be given the number 7 shirt soon, because he's got that level of talent. Let's see here. I mean, Phil's saying Sanchez at the 10. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that either, but I don't think that we'll see it at least to start the season, especially since he is only just coming off of injury. I just don't think we're going to see Sanchez much. But by the way, Vandy, good to see you, man. Very good to see you. So Jay Hart did ask, am I excited to finally see Christian Pulisic in the Prem? Jay Hart, yes, I am excited to see Christian Pulisic in the Prem. I've got him on my FPL team. But like I said, as long as he's not playing Manchester United, I want him to go out and score 30 goals and get 20 assists. But when he's playing Manchester United, I want you to be the worst player that you've ever been in your entire career. So I hope he sucks tomorrow.
Fair.
Or tomorrow, Sunday. I hope he sucks on Sunday. So anyways, so Mason Greenwood is going to be the guy that apparently on this show we're going to go with. That's who's going to be starting on that right-hand side. And Juan Mata at the 10. And I'll be honest, that lineup excites me. That lineup really excites me because it's got a good combination of youth, experience. The back line and the back five is solid. So solid. And that'll be something that'll be exciting to watch in itself, how that back line grows together. But the one thing that we are all nervous about is that midfield, and that midfield too. And I hope that it winds up, working out well in the end. But I think
it could well work out very well. But it's just if one of them gets injured, that's where the problem is.
No, and Paul, you're absolutely right. It's the fact that I mean, that's actually true, Matthew. I mean, we just are relying on not getting any injuries. Yeah. Let's see here. So
what happens in the first day of the season? Let's talk about their keeper injuries.
So
if that happens to us, then we're absolutely screwed.
Chris, just so you know,
because we got Lee Grant.
Right, that's right. Lee Grant automatically equals wins. He guarantees you at least 10 wins a year.
Just stick him up front.
Yeah, just stick him up front, stick him in the midfield. He'll be the perfect midfielder.
I got the FIFA 20 beta today, and Lee Grant is in fact 100 rated. So
Guaranteed.
I don't want to post any spoilers.
No spoilers. None. No spoilers on the show. Chris, I do hope you're right. I hope we see both Greenwood and Gomez play. That would be awesome. So, guys, I'm going to do something a little bit different here. And I know we kind of talked about it early. But let's go ahead and let's do some early season predictions. So, Matthew. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to Paul first because, Matthew, you just finished talking. So, Paul, who do you think will be the leading goal scorer for Manchester United this season?
Anthony Martial.
You're going to say Anthony Martial.
I'm sticking my neck out there as well. After everything I've been saying about him over the last couple of seasons, I don't know. I've got a feeling this season that he's going to... All because he's got the number 9 shirt. That's it.
There we go.
Make him.
There we go. Perfect. Matthew, who do you think will be the leading goal scorer?
I'm going to say Martial, but don't be surprised if it's Pogba again, because he's a penalty taker.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think that it will be Martial as well. And guys, if you want to get your predictions in on this, I've already seen a couple people saying Martial as well. I think that ultimately will be the guy that winds up getting the most chances at the very least, and he is our most clinical guy in front of goal. That's for sure. Number 9 sure is like his Austin Powers mojo. George, that's pretty good. I like that. Vandy is saying Rashford, new contract for is going to equal more goals. I mean, and I certainly hope so. That would be awesome. I'd love to see Rashford being the guy that does that. Here's an interesting one for you guys. Who do you think winds up leading the team in minutes? Pogba?
David De Gea.
Well, David De Gea actually would be a pretty safe bet. I mean, Matthew?
Yeah, if we're going to score keepers, I'd probably say... See, Pogba always gets an injury a season. So for that, I'm going to say Harry Maguire.
Ooh, okay, yeah, because, I mean, I would say excluding goalkeepers, Paul Pogba isn't a bad guess, but I'm going to agree with Matthew on Harry Maguire. As long as no injuries happen, I think that Harry Maguire will almost never be taken off the pitch. I can see...
don't recall Maguire getting any injuries too.
So, I don't think so. But I think that Pogba is the other guy that you could say will probably, if it's not Maguire, it's Pogba. It's going to be one of those two, but I don't think we will ever see him dropped. Carl Brown, good to see you, man. I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. So real quick, another quick question. Paul, where do you think we wind up finishing in the FA Cup?
That's a tough one because it's just luck of the draw, isn't it?
Kinda.
I'm going to say that we will get to the... I'm going to say semi-final.
Semi-final. That's actually where I'm going to. Matthew, where do you predict we finish in the FA Cup?
Yeah, I think it's that semi-final.
Semi-final? Okay, perfect. EFL Cup?
We're going to lose 4-0 to MK Dons in the first round.
Perfect. Love it.
Not again. That'll be Sunderland, so that Will Grigg can score against us again.
Yeah.
PSV and that. You know what? I'm going to say we'll make the final.
Okay.
Call me an absolute madman, but I think we might do that. I'm not going to say we'll win it because I'm not stupid, but League Cup final.
I like it. You know what? I like it. I really do like it. Jack, good to see you. Really good to see you. Same question about Europa League, Paul.
Last 16.
Last 16? Okay. Matthew.
It wouldn't be surprising if we get absolutely bummed by the draw of the last 32 and just get knocked out there. But yeah, I'd say 16 is probably a decent bet.
I would say 16 because I don't think we'll take it seriously, but I think it will depend on where we're at in the league. I think it 100% depends on where we're at in the league. Great to see Martial as number 9 this season. Hopefully he has a great season. Yeah, Carl, I really do hope so. I really, really do. So who do you think will wind up being the club MVP, Paul?
Martial.
Martial. Okay.
I've got high hopes for that guy and this season. And you know as well as Matthew and whoever has listened to the podcast over the last couple of years how much I've been unsure, how much I've criticised Martial, and I don't know what it is, but from what I've seen of him in this preseason, and I just got this feeling that he's going to play his this is going to be his season essentially.
Hey, you know what, Paul? I was literally just about to say, man, I love seeing your confidence in Anthony Martial. I really do love it, because I do think this is his season. This is his season to break out. I'm not going to say he's going to be club MVP, but damn, I really do hope so. So Matthew, who's going to be the club MVP?
I'm not too sure if you're going to bring up a young player of the season as well.
Yes.
But I'll say that anyways. I think it might be Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire. Okay, you know what? I like that one too.
I'm underestimating how much of an amazing signing this guy is. So yeah, for me, Harry Maguire or Martial. I mean, Martial's a decent bet too, but that's going to be Slaphead.
So, Carl, to answer your question, all of us kind of predicted we're going to finish right around the top four. Not saying we're going to get top four, but it'll be like fourth, fifth, sixth, somewhere in there is where all of us are predicting is where we're going to finish. In fact, I think that I was the only one that did predict we're going to get top four, in fairness. So I'm going to say we're going to get fourth. But I'm also crazy, so whatever, no big deal. So my prediction is actually probably going to, surprise some of you, because I would normally try and match them. I think it will wind up being Paul Pogba. I think Paul Pogba winds up being the club MVP simply because he will be the most necessary piece to the team. And I think that ultimately he will wind up having a great season because of it. Man, I hope so. That'd be amazing if we could finish second. I would kill to have us finish second. That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I think you could be on to winner there, Andrew. And the reason for that is under Mourinho, we didn't really. And one of the things that frustrated me about our forward players is that they never made runs. They never got in behind the defence. They were always coming deep and they were always coming to collect the ball. And quite often Pogba would receive the ball. And some of the reasons why it took so long to release the ball is because people weren't making runs. They weren't giving him an option.
Yep.
And I think in this, so obviously that wasn't the case all the time, because occasionally he was able to play that killer pass because somebody was making a run. But it didn't happen nearly often enough. And I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we're going to see a completely different way of playing football, a different system, where we will have people making runs. The front players will be pushing. And it will give Pogba a lot more options to shine.
Yeah, and I certainly, that's basically my exact thoughts, Paul. I think that Paul is going to have a lot more options this season because we're going to see people making good runs, and I think we're going to see good counterattacks from Manchester United. And Paul Pogba is one of the few players in this team, and Juan Mata is the other one that can regularly play a great long pass. So Paul Pogba, for me, is the guy that will probably wind up finishing as the club MVP. Young player of the year, Matthew.
I would like to see it being Greenwood, but realistically it's going to be Wan-Bissaka. Because I think it's 21 and under by the start of the season, so Wan-Bissaka qualifies for that.
Yes, I believe that is the case. Paul?
Cheers. It's got to be Bissaka.
I'm going to agree with Matthew. It was going to be Mason Greenwood because Ole has said he's going to get lots of minutes and I think he will score goals. But we've seen how Wan-Bissaka can perform in pre-season. He's absolutely unbeatable. But at the same time, you when you're picking a player of the year type, you're looking at someone who's going to be the star, and that usually comes in the form of an attacking player scoring goals. So if Mason Greenwood does do that, even if he has a period where he has a dry spell, but then comes out that scores goals, and Wan-Bissaka is consistent all the way through the season, Mason Greenwood is going to be the one that gets all the glory because he's the one scoring the goals.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Greenwood.
Yep. And that's basically everybody's agreeing between Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka. And I think that those are the two that are the absolute safest bets. I mean, you could possibly see Dan James getting it depending on how he develops. But if I had to make my guess, I'm going to say, Paul, I'm actually going to agree with you. And I'm going to say that it's going to be Mason Greenwood because ultimately, like you said, goal scorers get recognition. I think Wan-Bissaka is going to be consistent. I think that you could even make the argument he might wind up being our club MVP depending on how well he does because of just how good he is at that right back spot. It seems like nobody ever gets past him, like ever. So, like I've actually that's been the most impressive thing about his game is that nobody ever gets past him.
And I think Jack Coleman in the comments, Gomez, he's suggesting, and I think if Gomez gets enough game time, I think he could well be in the shout of that as well.
Yeah, and I certainly hope so. I hope we can see a lot of kids come in and play. And Andrew, what do you think of Tyler Adams at Leipzig? Jack, Tyler Adams is the guy that I would love to see us bring in for our future CDM. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's quick. He's got good passing. He's got the intelligence, and he's 19 years old. It's somebody that I would love to just see a star American be brought in, whether that be Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, whoever it is. I hope we see somebody. That's what I'm hoping. So last but not least, oh, hey, Bobs, sit. Hey, good boy. All right, guys, Olivia's here. Olivia's going to give us some predictions. Olivia. Hey, you say hi to the people? You say hi? I know, it's so bright. It's so bright, I know. It's so bright. So, Olivia, who do you think is going to be the MVP this year?
Martial. Say Martial.
Do you think it's going to be Martial? Yeah. You saw her shake her head, yes. Hey, baby girls. Hi. I love you, babies.
Imagine if our first word is slap heads.
You know what? I'm gonna push for it. Instead of mom or dad, slabhead. It's simple. Simple words. Hey, baby girl. I love you. Do you want to? She's just chilling. You can just go ahead. You can close the door. It's because it's yeah. Thank you, wifeys.
The red bearded red mascot.
That's right. Can you hide her? Back when it was longer, yes, I probably could have. So this is actually going to be kind of a downer one to end on. But who do you think will wind up being our worst player this year? I'm Paul first.
When you say worst player, I'm going to assume of the players that would play frequently.
That's basically what I was going for.
That's actually quite tough. Do you know what I'm going to say? And it sounds quite harsh, but I'm going to say Jesse Lingard.
I can see that being the case. This isn't going to be a tough one because we don't know who's going to get, kind of dropped out of the squad.
No, if I don't think Sanchez is going to play much. I really don't. Despite what Ollie says, I don't think Sanchez will get much of a look in. Plus, there's talk of him going out on loan, apparently. I'm not sure.
AS Roma is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with Lingard.
Matthew, to you.
I'd probably agree with Paul and say Lingard. But, see, again, depends on how much game time he gets. I think Fred could be there because I could not rate Fred at all. Like you said numerous times, has he made a pass in his life? I don't think so. But I really don't want to say this one, right? But think of someone who's tailed off at the end of last season, someone who was making mistake after mistake, a certain keeper. I hope not. But
that's a big shout.
For some reason, I can just see at the back of my mind, thinking, how is he going to do this season? Because everyone's talking about, quality of a back four and keeper, but that's assuming that they're all playing on form. And what have we seen of De Gea, or what in the competitive games, what have we seen of him most recently? It's been mistakes, not just mistakes, but mistakes every single game. So hopefully he can rectify that, but it's not a guarantee. So to throw an absolute curveball, De Gea could be a contender.
Ooh.
We like
That's a
curveballs.
safe
We
bet.
like curveballs.
We do. We love a curveball on the Red Bull Red channel.
We do.
But yeah, it's got to be Lingard, surely.
Yeah, and because I think that Matic will kind of be dropped out of the squad, I'm going to agree and say that it will wind up being Jesse Lingard, because Messi Lingard has not been in existence for a while. He'll pop up for 4 or 5 games, and then he'll go back to being missing Lingard. I hope that's not the case, and I hope we see Jesse be very good this year. And but I've got my questions and I've got my doubts. But guys, this has been a fantastic stream. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I think let's go ahead and wrap it up time. But Olivia, you're getting tired already? I know. Long streams can take it out of you. But so, guys, just go ahead and give me your Paul, I'm going to come to you first. Give me your final thoughts on the season, and just what you're kind of thinking.
Well, when last season ended, we already, as a fan base in general, we're already sort of discussing this coming season and how it's going to be a rebuild process and how we shouldn't really expect much. In terms of league position, I don't think we can expect much, especially after the transfer window. But what I think we can expect, and what I think we will see at least, is just more positive football, more moments when we're sat on the edge of our seat and we're jumping, almost celebrating a goal. More moments like that. More moments that where you stand up and you think, did he just do that? More of that. More attacking football, more exciting football. Just something so that we don't finish every game annoyed, depressed, pissed off, And I think as long as we can get that from next season at the very least, because with that will come results, and confidence and morale, and more of a chance in getting top 4. So, I think as long as we can get that from this season, I think we should be, I won't say happy, but content. Or contented, whatever the word is.
I think content's the right word, the right superlative of that. Olivia, is that what you think of the season? Yeah. Matthew, what are you? Give me your final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, I just want to see some kind of improvement and identity as a team back. Because towards the end of the last season, it was a little bit Jose Mourinho-esque, where, we're getting bad results, but I think another important thing was we just couldn't see what our tactics was. But, pre-season as a whole has kind of showed that, apart from the AC Milan game, really, where it wasn't quite as good. But yeah, pre-season, I think, for the most part, we've actually seen some kind of intent. We've seen, the ball played from centre-backs. We've seen Pogba spraying the balls from deep. And those attackers just prepared to run for the whole game. And I hope we see something like that in the Premier League season, not just a case of, it's pre-season, we can kind of get away with it. So yeah, I just want to see some kind of improvement. Even if we finish like 5th or 6th or something, I think a silver lining to that cloud would be an improvement in some kind of direction that we're going in. So, it's got to start with the Chelsea game. Hopefully that can give me a nice little birthday present. So yeah, I'm just hoping that we actually see Manchester United's football club back.
Yeah, no, that's ultimately what I'm just going to agree with you guys. There's really no point in me giving final thoughts, because as long as we look better and our play style looks better, I'm going to be happy. Regardless of where we finish in the league, if it looks like we're improving in our play style, like Paul said, with that will come results. That, and then I really do hope that we see the youth given more chances. The likes of Mason Greenwood, Tahith Chong, and Angel Gomez all be in and around the first team squad. And, I hope that's the case. I really do. But thank you very much, Paul and Matthew, for joining me today. It was a great stream, nice long stream. Guys, we will be back tomorrow. I'm giving you a quick heads up. We'll be back tomorrow for a Chelsea preview. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be myself and you guys. He's been on the show before. Tyler Dunn, fellow American over here. He's going to be on the show. And then I think Matthew might be joining as well. But Paul, I know I've got your deets in the description below. But anything else you want to shout out, my friend?
Just thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, I'll be able to join you more often during the season this year as well.
Yeah, I hope so, Paul. I love having you on. It's always fun. That's why I love joining you on Talking Manchester United as well. Guys, go subscribe to them. I forgot to put the link in there because I just copied and pasted everything from a previous stream or previous stream from the previous stream was supposed to be on. But so sorry about that, Paul. But I'll get it in there for anybody that's watching the VOD later. And then Matthew, thank you for joining us. I've got all your deets in the bottom. But anything else you want to shout out, my friend?
I want to shout out Olivia staring at that Marcus Rashford poster. That is someone who appreciates true art.
Yes, facts.
Because, throughout the whole conversations when we were talking, she was just staring at it like, I tell you what, I love that. I wish I could get one from my home. And she can. That's one of the greatest plugs in history. You can get one from lastnightgraphics.com, which is linked in the description. Obviously, I'm going to Phoenix in 5 days. So if you want to get one pretty quick, then you'll have to order very quickly.
Yes. And then Matthew will also be live with us for some of these streams coming forward, guys. Live.
Actually, in the room, which will be in my bedroom.
Yes. It's going to be amazing. But genuinely, thank you guys for joining me. I always love having you guys on. I really do. I hope that you guys all enjoyed getting to see a little bit of Olivia. She was excited to join the stream. And I really do hope that you all have a great night, a great day, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Keep doing you, because I love you guys, and you guys are awesome. Have a great rest of your night.